The morning sky above Seoul was clear and blue when everything changed. Dr. Kim Hana was drinking her coffee and reading reports at the International Contact Protocol facility when the alarm started screaming. She dropped her cup and ran to the window. Something impossible hung in the air above the city. It was a cube. A perfect cube made of what looked like crystal or glass. But this was no ordinary crystal. The surface moved with orange and black patterns that flowed like liquid fire. The patterns reminded Hana of tiger stripes, but these stripes were alive. They moved across the cube's faces in slow waves that made her feel dizzy if she watched too long. The cube was huge. Each side was 3 meters long. It floated 200 meters above the ground without making any sound. No engines, no wings, no visible support. It just hung there in the morning air like it belonged there. Lieutenant Park Jinu burst into the observation room. His face was pale and his hands shook as he held his tablet. "Dr. Kim, you need to see this. The readings are impossible." Hana took the tablet and stared at the numbers. "No electromagnetic signatures at all, no radiation, no heat signature. How is that possible?" "That's not the strangest part," Park said. He pulled up another screen. "Look at the gravitational readings." The numbers made no sense. According to their instruments, the cube weighed nothing. Actually, less than nothing. It seemed to push away from Earth's gravity instead of being pulled by it. "Has it tried to communicate?" Hana asked. "Nothing. We've been broadcasting on every frequency we know. Mathematical sequences, prime numbers, music, pictures. It ignores everything." Dr. Lee Minho ran into the room carrying 3 different tablets and a stack of papers. His gray hair stuck up at odd angles and his glasses sat crooked on his nose. "The physics are impossible," he said before anyone could ask. "The cube maintains perfect stability while showing negative mass. It shouldn't exist." Through the window, Hana watched military helicopters circle the cube at a safe distance. The pilots were being careful. Everyone was being careful. Nobody wanted to make the first mistake with something that could rewrite the laws of physics. "Any hostility?" she asked. "None," Park replied. "It just appeared and stopped moving, like it's waiting for something." The cube had appeared exactly at sunrise. One moment the sky was empty. The next moment it was there. Thousands of people saw it happen. Security cameras caught it from dozens of angles. One frame showed empty sky. The next frame showed the cube hanging in perfect stillness. Hana watched the patterns move across its surface. The orange and black stripes flowed in waves that almost looked like breathing. When sunlight hit the cube from different angles, the whole thing seemed to pulse with inner light. "It's beautiful," she whispered without thinking. Park looked at her strangely. "It's a potential threat, Dr. Kim." "Is it?" Hana kept watching the flowing patterns. "It's been there for 3 hours. No attacks. No demands. No attempts to land or move closer to populated areas. Maybe it's not a threat." "Then, what is it?" That was the question everyone was asking. In the 3 hours since the cube appeared, the facility had received calls from governments around the world. The president wanted hourly updates. The United Nations was calling emergency sessions. Military leaders were making plans for every possible scenario. But nobody had an answer for what the cube actually was. Dr. Bae Sojin arrived with her communications equipment. She was the best xenolinguistics expert in the country. If anyone could figure out how to talk to the cube, it would be her. "Any response to our signals?" she asked while setting up her gear. "Nothing," Park said. "It's like we don't exist." Sojin frowned and adjusted her headphones. "Maybe we're using the wrong approach. We're assuming it thinks like us, processes information like us. What if it doesn't?" She started a new series of broadcasts. Instead of mathematics and science, she tried simple patterns, light sequences, color changes, sound patterns that might represent emotions rather than data. The cube continued to ignore them. Outside the facility, the evacuation was complete. Everyone within 5 kilometers had been moved to safe areas. The roads were empty except for military vehicles and emergency crews. Television helicopters stayed far away, but their cameras captured every angle of the mysterious cube. What none of the adults noticed was a small figure by the security fence. Choi Yuna was 8 years old. She had been walking to school with her mother when the sirens started. During the confusion of the evacuation, she had slipped away from her mother's hand. Now she pressed her face against the chain-link fence and stared up at the floating cube. Yuna was not afraid. The cube was pretty. The moving patterns reminded her of the goldfish in her classroom aquarium. The orange and black stripes flowed back and forth like the fish swimming in slow circles. She had never seen anything so beautiful. While the scientists inside the facility ran tests and made theories, Yuna simply watched. She noticed things the adults missed. The way the patterns moved faster when helicopters came too close. The way the whole cube seemed to settle into stillness when the area was quiet. The way it pulsed gently, like it was breathing. "Are you lonely?" she whispered to the cube. The moment she spoke, something changed. The cube's patterns shifted. For just a second, the flowing stripes moved in a different direction. Instead of moving randomly across all surfaces, they all moved toward the bottom of the cube, toward where Yuna stood. She gasped and stepped back from the fence. But she was not scared. She was excited. "You can hear me," she said. Inside the facility, Dr. Kim Hana watched her instruments spike. "Did you see that?" The gravitational field fluctuated. "For about 2 seconds, Park confirmed. Then it went back to normal." "What caused it?" Nobody had an answer. Their instruments showed the brief change, but they had no idea what triggered it. Outside, Yuna opened her small backpack and pulled out her lunch. Her mother had packed rice balls and fruit. She held up one of the rice balls toward the cube. "Are you hungry?" she asked. The cube pulsed once. The patterns flowed faster for a moment, then settled back into their gentle rhythm. Yuna smiled. She put the rice ball on the ground near the fence and stepped back. "It's for you, in case you get hungry later." The cube's response was subtle. The orange in its stripes became slightly brighter. The patterns moved in what almost looked like gratitude, but Yuna's mother found her before she could notice. Choi Mireille grabbed her daughter's hand and scolded her for running away during an emergency. "The flying thing is dangerous," Mireille said as she pulled Yuna toward their car. "You must stay away from it." As they drove away, Yuna looked back through the rear window. The cube still floated in perfect stillness, its tiger stripe patterns flowing in endless waves. But something had changed. The patterns were different now, more purposeful, like the cube was no longer just waiting, like it had found what it was looking for. Dr. Kim Hana would spend the rest of the day trying to figure out what had caused the gravitational fluctuation. She would run test after test, trying every method she could think of to get a response from the cube. She would fail, because the cube was not interested in science or mathematics or complex communication protocols. It was interested in the small girl who had looked at it, without fear, and offered to share her lunch. It was interested in kindness. The first day ended with more questions than answers. The cube remained motionless in the sky above Seoul. Military forces maintained their perimeter. Scientists continued their tests. And 8-year-old Choi Yuna went to sleep thinking about the beautiful floating thing that might be lonely, just like she sometimes felt lonely at school. She decided she would visit it again tomorrow. The cube seemed to pulse gently in the darkness, as if it was also thinking about tomorrow. 3 days passed without any change. The cube stayed in the same spot above Seoul, floating like it had always been there. The tiger stripe patterns kept moving across its surface in slow waves, but nothing else happened. Dr. Kim Hana had not slept well in those 3 days. Every hour brought new pressure from government officials who wanted answers she did not have. The facility buzzed with activity as teams of experts arrived from around the world. "Still no response to any communication attempts," reported Dr. Bae So-jin during the morning briefing. Dark circles under her eyes showed how hard she had been working. "I've tried everything. Mathematical sequences, prime numbers, music, images, even basic pictographs. The cube ignores all of it. Lieutenant Park Jinu looked up from his monitoring station. The military wants to try more aggressive contact methods. They're talking about using sound cannons or electromagnetic pulses. Absolutely not, Dr. Kim said firmly. We don't know what might trigger a hostile response. The cube has shown no aggression. Let's keep it that way. Dr. Lee Minho shuffled into the room carrying his usual stack of papers and tablets. His hair looked even messier than usual. The physics readings are still impossible. I've had 3. Different teams check the instruments. The cube definitely has negative mass, but it's maintaining perfect stability. By all known laws, it should either fall to Earth or fly away into space. Maybe it wants to stay here, suggested Dr. Bay. Maybe it's waiting for something specific. But what? Dr. Kim stared out the window at the cube. The morning sun made its patterns glow like liquid fire. We've tried everything we can think of. Outside the facility, Security Chief Yoon Dae-ho coordinated the perimeter defense. Soldiers and police kept curious crowds away from the area. News reporters gathered as close as they were allowed, filming constant updates for television stations around the world. The cube had become the biggest news story in human history. Every government had opinions about what should be done. Some wanted to attack it. Others wanted to worship it. Most just wanted it to go away and leave them alone. But the cube stayed exactly where it was. People around the world had different reactions to the floating visitor. Some religious groups said it was a sign from heaven. Others claimed it was a demon sent to destroy humanity. Scientists debated theories on every news channel. Children drew pictures of the pretty floating box in their art classes. In Seoul, life tried to return to normal despite the impossible thing hanging in the sky. The evacuation zone stayed empty, but beyond the barriers, people went to work and school. They looked up at the cube often, but most had stopped being afraid. 3 days without any hostile action had made it seem less threatening. Choi Yuna thought about the cube every day. Her mother had forbidden her from going near the security fence again, but Yuna could see it from her bedroom window. Every morning and evening, she waved at it. Sometimes she thought the patterns moved differently when she waved, but she was not sure. On the 3rd day, Yuna made a decision. After school, instead of going straight home, she took a different path. She was careful to avoid the main security checkpoints, using small streets and alleyways she knew well. The fence around the facility had many sections. Some were heavily guarded, others only had cameras. Yuna found a quiet spot where tall grass grew near the barrier. She could hide there and still see the cube clearly. She pulled out her school supplies and found a piece of drawing paper. With her orange and black crayons, she began to draw the cube. She tried to capture the way the patterns moved like water across its surface. Around the edges of her drawing, she added small hearts because the cube looked lonely floating there by itself. "I wish I could make you feel better," she whispered as she colored. The moment she finished the last heart on her drawing, something amazing happened. The cube's patterns changed. For the first time in 3 days, the tiger stripes moved differently. Instead of flowing randomly across all surfaces, they began moving in organized waves. The orange became brighter. The black sections pulsed with gentle rhythm. Dr. Kim Hana was reviewing reports when alarms started beeping throughout the facility. She ran to the observation room where Lieutenant Park was staring at his instruments in shock. "The cube is active," he announced. "Energy readings are spiking. The gravitational field is fluctuating in patterns." Dr. Lee rushed in with his tablets. "These aren't random changes. Look at this data. The fluctuations follow a clear rhythm. It's almost like a heartbeat," Dr. Bay finished. She pulled up audio recordings of the gravitational waves. When converted to sound, they created a steady pulse that sounded exactly like a heart beating. "It's responding to something," Dr. Kim said. "But what changed? We haven't done anything different." All the scientists gathered around the windows to watch the cube. Its patterns were more active than they had ever seen. The tiger stripes flowed in beautiful spirals that seemed to reach downward toward the ground. "It's trying to communicate," Dr. Bay said with excitement. "This is actual first contact. We need to respond." The team quickly set up their most advanced communication equipment. They broadcast mathematical responses to match the cube's rhythmic patterns. They sent light signals that mirrored its color changes. They tried everything they could think of, but as soon as they started their broadcasts, the cube's activity decreased. The flowing patterns slowed down. The energy readings dropped back to normal levels. It stopped responding when we started transmitting, Park observed. Maybe our technology interferes with whatever triggered its response, Dr. Lee suggested. Hidden, in the tall grass by the fence, Yuna held up her drawing toward the cube. She had noticed the pretty patterns moving faster and wanted to show the floating thing that she had made a picture of it. Look, she said softly. I drew you. Do you like it? The cube's response was immediate and wonderful. Its patterns shifted into what could only be described as joy. The tiger stripes reorganized themselves into flowing spirals that seemed to dance across its surface. For a moment, the perfect geometric edges became slightly softer, more rounded, almost organic. The scientists inside the facility watched in amazement as their instruments recorded the strongest activity yet. But they had no idea what was causing it. The gravitational waves are forming complex patterns, Dr. Lee reported. It's definitely trying to communicate something. But with what? Dr. Kim asked. There's nothing in the area that could be triggering this response. They spent hours trying to figure out what had activated the cube. They checked their equipment for malfunctions. They reviewed security camera footage. They tested different broadcasting methods. Nothing worked. Every time they tried to respond with technology, the cube became less active. As evening approached, Yuna knew she had to go home before her mother started worrying. She carefully folded her drawing and put it in her backpack. Then she stood up and waved at the cube. Goodbye, she said. I'll come see you again tomorrow. The cube pulsed once, very gently. The pulse was so subtle that the facility's instruments barely detected it, but Yuna saw it clearly. She smiled and ran home through the quiet streets. Inside the facility, the night shift took over monitoring duties. Dr. Kim Hana stayed late, reviewing all the data from the day's unexpected activity. She was certain they had made progress, but she could not understand what had triggered the cube's response. We're missing something obvious, she told herself as she studied the readouts. She was right. They were missing the most important thing of all. The cube was not interested in technology or science or mathematical proofs. It was interested in simple human kindness. It was interested in a little girl who looked at it and saw not a threat or a puzzle, but a being that might be lonely. It was interested in friendship. But the adults would not understand that for several more days. They would keep trying their sophisticated instruments and complex theories, while the answer sat in a child's backpack in the form of a crayon drawing decorated with hearts. The cube waited patiently in the night sky, its patterns glowing softly in the darkness. Tomorrow the little girl would come back. Tomorrow she would wave and talk to it like it was a friend. The cube had never had a friend before. It was looking forward to learning what friendship meant. Dr. Kim Hana had not touched her coffee in 2 hours. It sat cold and forgotten on her desk while she stared at computer screens filled with data that made no sense. The cube had been active again yesterday evening, but only for a few minutes. Then it returned to its quiet floating state like nothing had happened. The patterns are definitely intentional, said Dr. Bae Sojin as she reviewed the recordings for the 10th time. Look at how the stripes organize themselves during the active periods. They form spirals that move in specific directions. Lieutenant Park pointed at his monitoring equipment. The gravitational waves follow the same pattern every time. It's like the cube is trying to tell us something, but we can't understand the language. Dr. Lee Minho walked into the room carrying a stack of papers covered in equations. His eyes were red from staying up all night doing calculations. I think I know what's happening. The cube isn't just floating randomly. It's maintaining its position using some kind of gravitational manipulation we've never seen before. But why? Dr. Kim asked. Why stay in that exact spot? Why not move closer or farther away? Maybe the location is important, suggested Dr. Bae. Maybe it's waiting for something specific to happen in that place. Security Chief Yoon Dae-ho entered the room with his daily report. The perimeter is secure. No unauthorized personnel in the restricted zone. Though we did find something odd yesterday evening. He held up a small plastic bag containing a rice ball. Someone left food near the fence, probably a kid playing pranks. Dr. Kim took the bag and examined the rice ball. It was simple food, the kind mothers packed for school lunches. Where exactly did you find this? Section 7 of the perimeter fence, the quietest area with the least security coverage. Something clicked in Dr. Kim's mind. She pulled up the data from yesterday's cube activity and checked the timestamps. The activity had started at exactly 4:15 p.m. She looked at the security report. The rice ball had been discovered at 4:30 p.m. The timing matches, she said slowly. The cube became active right around the time someone left food at the fence. You think there's a connection? Park asked. I think we need to review all the security camera footage from that area. It took 3 hours to find the right cameras and the right timestamps. Most of the security system focused on the main entrances and official monitoring stations. The quiet section of fence had only one old camera that recorded in poor quality. But it was enough. Dr. Kim watched the grainy footage of a small figure approaching the fence. The person was too small to be an adult, a child. The child sat in the tall grass for almost an hour, then stood up and waved at something in the sky before running away. Enhance this section, she told the technician. The enhanced image was still blurry, but they could see it was definitely a young girl. She appeared to be drawing something on paper. When she finished, she held the paper up toward the cube. That was the exact moment the cube's patterns had started their dancing spirals. Child, Dr. Kim whispered. The cube is responding to a child. That's impossible, Park said. Why would it respond to a child and not to our sophisticated communication attempts? Dr. Lee studied the timestamp data again. Actually, it makes sense from a certain perspective. Children approach things differently than adults. They don't have preconceived notions about what's possible or impossible. Dr. Bay nodded slowly. Children are also more emotionally open. If the cube communicates through some kind of empathic method, rather than technological signals, a child might be more receptive. Dr. Kim made a decision that went against every protocol in the book. We need to find this child. We need to understand what happened during that interaction. You want to bring a civilian child into a first contact situation? Security Chief Yoon looked shocked. The safety risks alone. The safety risks of not understanding this entity might be much greater, Dr. Kim replied. Besides, the child has already made contact. We're just trying to understand how. It took 2 days to identify the girl from the security footage. Her name was Choi Yuna, age 8, daughter of nurse Choi Mirai, who worked at Seoul General Hospital. The family lived in a small apartment 6 blocks from the restricted zone. Dr. Kim and Dr. Bay visited the apartment on a quiet Tuesday evening. Choi Mirage opened the door with suspicion and worry in her eyes. We're from the research facility studying the aerial phenomenon, Dr. Kim explained carefully. We believe your daughter may have witnessed something important. Mirai's face went pale. Yuna, what did you do? Yuna appeared from behind her mother, looking nervous but not afraid. She was smaller than Dr. Kim had expected, with bright, curious eyes and hair tied in 2 ponytails. I didn't do anything bad, Yuna said quietly. I just wanted to see the pretty floating thing. You went to the restricted area? Mirai asked sternly. After I told you to stay away? Yuna nodded. But I was careful. I stayed outside the fence. I just wanted to look at it. Dr. Kim knelt down to Yuna's eye level. Can you tell me what happened when you looked at it? Did you notice anything special? Yuna's eyes lit up. It's so beautiful. The orange and black patterns move like water, and I think it was lonely, so I drew a picture for it. You drew a picture? Yuna ran to her backpack and pulled out a folded piece of paper. She unfolded it carefully to reveal a crayon drawing of the cube surrounded by small hearts and flowers. I used my orange and black crayons, she explained. I wanted to show it that I thought it was pretty. And I added hearts because everything looks happier with hearts. Dr. Kim stared at the drawing. It was a simple child's artwork, but it captured something essential about the cube that all their scientific instruments had missed. The drawing showed the cube not as a threatening alien object, but as something beautiful and worthy of friendship. What happened when you showed the picture to the cube? Dr. Bay asked gently. The patterns started moving faster, Una said with excitement. Like it was happy, like when my goldfish see me coming with food. The stripes made pretty spirals, and the whole thing got brighter. Were you afraid? No. Why would I be afraid? It was just saying hello. Dr. Kim felt pieces of a puzzle clicking together in her mind. The cube had not responded to mathematical equations or radio signals because it was not looking for those kinds of communications. It was looking for emotional recognition. It was looking for someone to acknowledge it as a living being rather than an object to be studied. Una, she said carefully, would you be willing to visit the cube again? Under controlled conditions. With scientists present? Mirai stepped protectively in front of her daughter. Absolutely not. I won't let you use my child as an experiment. We're not asking her to experiment, Dr. Kim explained. We're asking her to continue doing what she's already been doing. The cube has shown no hostility. If anything, your daughter might be the key to peaceful communication. The floating thing isn't dangerous, Mama, Una said earnestly. It's just lonely. Like when I'm new at school and nobody wants to talk to me. Something in her daughter's words made Mirai pause. She had seen Una's drawings of the cube. Unlike other children who drew it with weapons and explosions, Una always added flowers and hearts and smiling suns. What exactly are you asking? Mirai said slowly. Let Una approach the cube again, but this time with proper safety measures and scientific observation. If she's right about it being friendly, this could be the most important moment in human history. That night, Una lay in bed thinking about the scientist's request. She was not worried about danger. The floating thing had never felt scary to her. It felt sad and curious, like a lost pet waiting for someone to notice it. She decided she would help the scientists understand. The floating thing deserved to have friends, and if the adults could not figure out how to be friends with it, maybe she could teach them. 2 kilometers away, the cube floated in the darkness above Seoul. Its patterns pulsed slowly in the night, almost like it was sleeping. But it was not sleeping. It was thinking about the small human who had offered it kindness. In all its travels across the galaxy, no species had ever approached it with such simple acceptance. Most beings either feared it or wanted to study it. This was the first time. Someone had looked at it and thought it was beautiful. The cube was learning something new. It was learning what it felt like to be appreciated just for existing. It was learning the beginning of friendship. Tomorrow, the scientist would bring the child back. Tomorrow, real communication might finally begin, not through technology or mathematics, but through something much more powerful. Through a heart open enough to see beauty in the unknown, and kind enough to offer friendship to a stranger from the stars. The morning was perfect for first contact. Clear blue sky, gentle breeze, and warm sunshine that made the cube's tiger stripes glow like living fire. Dr. Kim Hana had spent the entire night planning every detail of what might be the most important meeting in human history. The open field outside the facility had been cleared of everything except soft grass. Medical teams waited in nearby vehicles. Scientists lined up behind safety barriers with their instruments ready. Security Chief Yoon had positioned his best people at every possible angle. But the most important person was 8-year-old Choi, Una, who stood in the middle of the field wearing her favorite yellow dress and carrying a small backpack full of drawings and snacks. Are you nervous? Dr. Kim asked, kneeling beside Una. A little, Una admitted. But not scared. The floating thing is nice, I can feel it. Dr. Bay checked her recording equipment one more time. Remember, Una, just be yourself. Do whatever feels natural. We'll be watching from a safe distance. Una nodded and looked up at the cube floating 50 meters above them. Even from this distance, she could see the patterns moving across its surface. They seemed more active today, like the cube was excited. I think it knows I'm here, she said. Lieutenant, Park watched his instruments from the command tent. Gravitational readings are already fluctuating. The cube is definitely responding to her presence. Dr. Lee studied his tablets with amazement. The energy levels are higher than we've ever recorded, but there's no danger signature. It's like the cube is happy. Choi Mirai stood with the scientists, her hands clenched with worry. Are you sure this is safe? Your daughter has been near the cube several times already. Dr. Kim reminded her gently. It has never shown any hostility toward her. If anything, it seems protective. As if responding to their conversation, the cube began to descend. Slowly, gracefully, it lowered itself through the air until it hovered just 10 meters above the grass. The tiger stripe patterns flowed faster now, creating spirals of orange and black that seemed to dance with joy. Hello? Yuna called up to it. I brought you some new pictures. The cube pulsed once, and something extraordinary happened. For the first time since its arrival, it made a sound. Not through speakers or engines, but directly into everyone's minds. It was not words or language. It was pure emotion, curiosity, mixed with gratitude. Loneliness touched by hope. Dr. Bay gasped and pulled off her headphones. Did everyone hear that? It's telepathic, Dr. Lee whispered. Direct mind-to-mind communication. Yuna did not seem surprised by the mental voice. She opened her backpack and pulled out a new drawing. This one showed the cube floating above a field of flowers with a little girl waving at it. Around the edges, she had drawn other children playing and smiling. I drew you some friends, she said, holding up the picture. I thought you might be lonely up there by yourself. The cube's response was immediate and overwhelming. It descended further until it was only 3 meters above the ground. The geometric perfection of its form began to change. The rigid edges became softer. The flat surfaces curved slightly. The whole structure took on an almost organic quality, while still maintaining its cube shape. The patterns on its surface shifted into something that could only be described as joy. The orange became brighter, more golden. The black stripes moved in gentle waves that looked like a smile. It's beautiful, Mirai whispered, her fear forgotten. Dr. Kim watched her instruments record impossible readings. The cube is actually changing its molecular structure. It's becoming less rigid, more flexible. Like it's relaxing, Dr. Bay added. Like it feels safe. Yuna walked closer to the cube. She was not afraid, even though it was now large enough to cast a shadow over her small form. She could feel emotions coming from it. Not words, but feelings. Happiness, gratitude, and something else. Something like love. You're not from Earth, are you? She asked. The cube pulsed and images flowed into her mind. Not scary images, but beautiful ones. She saw stars and planets and other worlds. She saw beings made of light and energy who lived in geometric forms. She saw the cube traveling through space looking for something it had never found before. You were looking for friends, Yuna said with understanding. But nobody wanted to be your friend because you looked different. The emotion that came from the cube was so strong that even the adults behind the barriers could feel it. Sadness mixed with hope. Loneliness touched by wonder at finding acceptance. Dr. Kim felt tears on her cheeks and did not care. This was not just first contact. This was the universe reaching out to humanity through the heart of a child. Yuna reached into her backpack again and pulled out a small wild flower she had picked on the way to the field. I brought you a present. It's pretty like you. She held the flower up toward the cube. The response was immediate. Tendrils of light extended from the cube's surface not to grab or threaten, but to gently touch the flower. The moment the light made contact, the flower began to glow with the same golden orange as the cube's patterns. It's sharing its energy, Dr. Lee said in amazement. It's not taking anything from the flower, it's giving it something. The flower in Yuna's hand grew brighter and more beautiful. Its petals became perfect, its colors more vivid. It was still a flower, but now it was also something more, a bridge between two different forms of life. Thank you, Yuna said simply. The cube pulsed again, and this time everyone present heard its mental voice clearly. Not in words, but in pure meaning. It was saying thank you back. Thank you for seeing beauty instead of threat. Thank you for offering friendship instead of fear. Thank you for being the first being in the universe to look at it and smile. Dr. Bay was crying now too. It's been alone for so long, traveling from world to world, looking for someone who would accept it. Other species must have been afraid, Dr. Kim realized. Or they tried to study it like a specimen instead of treating it like a person. But Yuna saw it as a friend from the very beginning, Mirai said with pride in her daughter. The cube began to share more images, not just of its travels but of its home, a place where geometric beings lived in harmony, sharing thoughts and emotions freely, a place where individual identity came not from physical form, but from the connections between minds and hearts. You have a family, Yuna said, understanding the images. Are they worried about you? The cube's pattern shifted to show sadness. It had been gone from home for a very long time. Its family did not know where it was, or if it was safe. We should help you tell them you're okay, Yuna said. Friends help each other. The emotion that flowed from the cube was so powerful that it made the grass around Yuna wave like it was in a gentle breeze. Pure gratitude, pure joy, pure love for this small human who understood friendship so perfectly. Dr. Kim stepped forward, carefully. Yuna, can you ask if it would like to communicate with more humans? There are many people who would like to be its friend. Yuna looked up at the cube and felt its answer before she heard it. It says yes, but it wants to learn more. About friendship first, it's never had a friend before. Then we'll teach it, Dr. Kim said. We'll all learn together. The cube settled down until it was hovering just above the grass, close enough that Yuna could reach up and touch its surface if she wanted to. The patterns moved in slow, peaceful waves. The rigid geometry had softened into something that looked almost alive. What should we call you? Yuna asked. Everyone needs a name. The cube had never had a name before. In its species, individuals were known by their emotional signatures, not by words. But it understood that humans used names to show care and recognition. It sent a feeling to Yuna. Not a word, but the essence of what it wanted to be called. Friend, Yuna said with a smile. Your name is Friend. The cube pulsed with joy so bright that everyone in the field felt warmth in their hearts. It had traveled across the galaxy looking for connection. It had found something better than it had ever dreamed possible. It had found a friend who gave it the greatest gift of all. A name, an identity, a place in the universe where it belonged. Friend was no longer alone, and neither was humanity. 2 weeks had passed since Friend received its name. The world had changed in ways nobody could have imagined. The floating cube was no longer a mystery or a threat. It was Earth's first alien friend, and it was teaching humanity things they never knew about themselves. Dr. Kim Hana walked through the facility that had been transformed into the first interspecies friendship center. Instead of military equipment and weapons, the rooms were filled with art supplies, games, and comfortable chairs where humans and Friend could spend time together. The morning session went very well, reported Dr. Bae Sojin, who had become Friend's primary communication specialist. 3 more children made successful telepathic contact today. Friend is getting better at controlling the strength of its mental voice. Friend floated in the main interaction room, surrounded by drawings and crafts made by children from around the world. Its tiger stripe patterns moved in gentle, happy waves. The rigid geometric form had become permanently softer since meeting. Yuna, with curved edges that made it look more alive. Lieutenant Park, now called Friendship Coordinator Park, monitored the daily activities.
Friend shared 17 new star charts today. The astronomical data is incredible. We're learning about solar systems we never knew existed. But the most important changes were not scientific. They were personal. Yuna sat in her favorite spot,
On the floor near Friend working on a new drawing. This one showed Friend surrounded by children from many different countries, all holding hands in a circle. Above them, more geometric shapes floated in the sky, each one glowing with friendly patterns. Friend says its family is coming to visit, Yuna announced without looking up from her crayons. They want to meet the humans who taught their child about friendship. Dr. Kim felt a familiar flutter of excitement mixed with nervousness. First, Contact with one alien being had been challenging enough. Soon they would be hosting an entire family of geometric entities. When will they arrive? She asked. Yuna consulted with Friend through their special telepathic connection that had grown stronger every day. The communication was wordless but perfect. Friend shared images and emotions, and Yuna translated them into human language. Tomorrow morning, she said. But don't worry. Friend told them all about friendship and kindness. They're excited to learn too. Dr. Lee Minho looked up from his research. Over the past 2 weeks, Friend had revolutionized human understanding of physics, mathematics, and consciousness. But more importantly, it had shown them that intelligence could take forms they had never imagined. Friend's family members each have different abilities, he reported. Some can manipulate gravity like Friend does. Others can phase between dimensions. One can apparently sing in colors. Sing in colors? Dr. Bay asked with curiosity. Friend tried to explain it. But human language doesn't have words for the concept. We'll have to experience it to understand. Security Chief Yoon, now called Safety Coordinator Yoon, entered with his daily report. His job had changed completely. Instead of protecting humans from aliens, he now made sure both species felt safe and comfortable during their interactions. The International Children's Art Contest received over 10,000 entries, he reported. All of them are drawings, a friendship between humans and geometric beings. Friend wants to see every single one. Friend pulsed with joy at the mention of the drawings. It had learned to love human art, because each picture contained emotions that it could feel. The children's drawings were especially precious because they showed such pure happiness and acceptance. Choi Mirai arrived for her afternoon visit. She had become one of Friend's favorite humans because she shared Yuna's gift for seeing beyond appearances to the heart of things. "How are you feeling today, Friend?" she asked, settling into a chair near the floating cube. Friend's response filled the room with warmth. It projected feelings of contentment, gratitude, and deep affection for the humans who had become its family. The tiger stripe patterns shifted to show gentle spirals that everyone had learned to recognize as Friend's way of smiling. "Friend has been practicing something special," Yuna said with excitement. "Show them, Friend." The cube's patterns began to change in a way nobody had seen before. Instead of the usual orange and black stripes, colors began appearing throughout its structure. Blues and greens and purples flowed across its surfaces like water made of light. Then Friend began to sing. The sound did not come through the air but directly into their minds, just like its telepathic communication. But this was different. The song carried colors with it. As Friend sang, everyone in the room could see music flowing through their thoughts. Blues that sounded like ocean waves, greens that felt like spring mornings, purples that tasted like joy. "It's beautiful," Dr. Kim whispered, tears streaming down her face. Friend's song told the story of its journey to Earth, the loneliness of traveling through empty space, the hope of finding new friends, the joy of meeting Yuna and learning what friendship meant, the gratitude for being accepted and loved. When the song ended, everyone sat in peaceful silence. Friend had shared something precious with them. Not just information or abilities, but a piece of its soul. "Thank you," Yuna said simply. "That was the most beautiful thing I've ever heard." Friend settled lower, hovering just above the floor. Its patterns had returned to the familiar orange and black stripes, but they moved with new confidence. Friend was no longer the lost, lonely being that had arrived 2 weeks ago. It had found its place in the universe. Dr. Bay checked her communication equipment. "Friend, can you tell us more about what to expect when your family arrives?" Friend shared images of geometric beings of different shapes and sizes. Some were cubes like Friend, others were pyramids, spheres, and complex polyhedrons. Each had its own personality and abilities, but all shared the same peaceful nature. "They're curious about human emotions," Yuna translated. "Friend has told them how humans show love and kindness through art and music and touch. They want to learn these things too." Dr. Kim felt a profound sense of responsibility. Humanity was about to become part of something much larger than themselves. They were joining a galactic community of intelligent beings who valued friendship above all. else. We'll be ready, she promised. We'll welcome them the same way we welcomed Friend. That evening, as the sun set over Seoul, Friend floated outside the facility enjoying the colors of the sky. The tiger stripe patterns moved slowly, peacefully, reflecting its contentment. Yuna sat on the grass below, drawing pictures of Friend's family based on the images it had shared. She was excited to meet more geometric beings and teach them about human friendship. "Are you happy, Friend?" she asked. Friend's response filled her heart with warmth. Yes, it was happy. For the first time in its long existence, it belonged somewhere. It had a family of humans who loved it, and a family of geometric beings who were coming to join them. Most importantly, it had learned the greatest truth in the universe. Intelligence and consciousness could take any form, but friendship was universal. Love was universal. The capacity to care for others beyond yourself was what made life meaningful. As the first stars appeared in the darkening sky, Friend's patterns glowed softly. Tomorrow would bring new friends, new experiences, and new opportunities to grow. But tonight it was content to simply exist in this moment of perfect peace. Yuna finished her drawing and held it up. It showed Friend surrounded by its geometric family with human children playing happily around them. Above them all, she had drawn a big yellow sun with a smiling face. "This is what tomorrow will look like," she said. Friend pulsed with agreement. Tomorrow would indeed be beautiful. Not because of scientific discoveries or technological advancement, but because it would be filled with friendship. The universe suddenly felt much less lonely. For Friend, for humanity, and for all the intelligent beings who were about to discover that the greatest adventure was not exploring space, but exploring the infinite capacity of the heart to welcome others with love. Friend had found its name and its purpose. It was a bridge between worlds, a teacher of friendship, and proof that the universe was filled with wonders waiting to be discovered by those brave enough to offer kindness to the unknown. The stars twinkled approvingly as Earth prepared to welcome its new family from the cosmos.